Hello students, hope you are fine. We are going to start another process called glycolysis. Yes, we are studying glycolysis. So very cool today. So glycolysis is another process. It's the very first process that takes place during the process of respiration. And in order to understand this process, you will have to watch the video till the end and subscribe my channel as well if you have not subscribed, and share it with your friends as well so that we can all learn together. So what's glycolysis? It is actually a process in which the lysis of a glucose takes place. What actually happens, this is a process where glucose converts into two molecules of pyruvates, and by that process we produce ATP and NADH, and this process is termed, which is taking place in the cytoplasm, cytosol. This process is termed as glycolysis. What happens during this process? These are different events, or these are different steps that will take place to convert a molecule of glucose into a molecule of pyruvates. Let's learn what happens here. Glucose, on a very fast stage, undergoes a process of phosphorylation where we are going to invest one ATP, and the phosphate attaches to glucose and converts it into a glucose 6-phosphate. So as if glucose phosphorylation is going to take place of a glucose. And after phosphorylation, glucose 6-phosphate is formed, and on the next step, the same glucose 6-phosphate undergoes a process of isomerization, and by the process of isomerization, glucose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 6-phosphate. And fructose 6-phosphate once again undergoes a process of phosphorylation, and we consume another molecule of ATP, and we produce one molecule of fructose 1,6-biophosphate. This actually a step where we are synthesizing fructose 1,6-biophosphate, but this is in a phase of a glycolysis where we have consumed two molecules of ATP. Therefore, we consider this as a phase which is said to be ATP investment phase. Therefore, we say glycolysis, the first phase, is actually consuming ATP. It's an investment phase, and then there is a phase where we are going to produce ATP. That's energy yielding phase. What actually happens? Fructose 1,6-biophosphate right onward breaks into two molecules, and this is in a stage of which the name is derived. Actually, the name glycolysis is derived from this step where the fructose 1,6-biophosphate splits into two molecules called dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. These two molecules, two triose, are formed when a fructose 1,6 splits into two molecules. And these two molecules, further we can consider them two molecules. We can consider each, as they are interconvertible each other, we can simply consider them one molecule. But in order to make it easy for students to understand, we are converting them separately into a molecules so that we can consider the synthesis of ATP and NADH easily. In order to make it easy for the students, I'm drawing this structure in both molecules separately. What happens to a dihydroxyacetone phosphate? That converts into pyruvate. And what happens to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate? It also converts into a pyruvate. How this is all going to happen? Let's study. In a dihydroxyacetone, this undergoes a process of oxidation and it reduces molecule of NAD into NADH. And it takes one phosphate from the stroma, from cytoplasm, and it's converted into 1,3-biphosphoglycerate. Same happens here in a glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate also. It is oxidized and it's reducing molecule of NAD into NADH. Similarly, it's taking one phosphate also and it's converted into 1,3-biphosphogycerates. And they become same molecules. We have two molecules of 1,3-biphosphoglycerate, 1,3-biphosphogycerate. So this is actually a stage. It is actually a stage where we are synthesizing molecule of NADH. This is one NADH and this is another NADH that we have synthesized at this stage. As we know, NADHs are actually energy carriers, and they carry energy from one process to another process. They will finally transfer that energy to FADH, and FADH will transfer that energy to mitochondria, where that electrons will be given to electron transport chain, and they will help in synthesis of ATP. So what happens? 1,3-biphosphoglycerates, 1,3-biphosphoglycerates move onward, and on the next stage is actually a stage, because this 1,3-biphosphoglycerate is having actually a very highly energetic phosphate that phosphate removes. On this stage, phosphate removes that combines to ADP and synthesizes ATP. This is perhaps the first step where we are synthesizing ATP. And from one molecule, we synthesize one molecule of ATP, and when phosphate from carbon number 1 is when removed, we have a molecule of a 3-phosphoglycerate. Similarly, from 1,3-biphosphoglycerate, we are again removing the high energy phosphate molecule from 1,3-biphosphoglycerate, and that phosphate combines to ADP and they synthesize ATP. And when ATP is found, we are synthesizing a molecule of a 3-phosphoglycerate. What happens next? This 3-phosphoglycerate molecule further simply changes the position of phosphate from carbon number 3 to carbon number 2, and it becomes 2-phosphoglycerate. Similarly, here in this molecule, 3-phosphoglycerate simply changes the position of phosphate to carbon number 2, and it becomes 2-phosphoglycerate. And on the next stage, we are removing one molecule of water and we are converting 2-phosphoglycerate into phosphenyl pyruvate. And same here, we are removing one molecule of water and we are converting 2-phosphoglycerate into phosphenyl pyruvate. And right on the last step, we'll have to remove one high energy phosphate and that combines to ADP and that synthesizes ATP, and phosphenyl pyruvate is converted into pyruvates. And similarly, in this phosphenyl pyruvate, we are again removing a high energy phosphate molecule to an ATP and that synthesizes ATP, and this is another molecule of pyruvate synthesized here. And in this way, we have converted glucose into 2 molecules of pyruvates. At different steps, we have consumed energy and we have produced energy. So for consumption is concerned, we have consumed one molecule of ATP here and another molecule of ATP here. So for production of ATP is concerned, see, we have produced one molecule of ATP this one, and one molecule of ATP this one, and one molecule of ATP this one, and one molecule of ATP this one. That means we are producing total 4 molecules of ATP during the whole process of glycolysis as a gross ATP output. And 2 molecules of NADH. This is called one molecule of NADH, and this is said to be another molecule of NADH. And therefore, by a process of glycolysis, we have produced gross ATP, and that is total 4 molecules of ATP. As we have consumed 2 molecules of ATP during investment phase, and if we deduct these 2 molecules, we are producing net ATP, and that is 2 molecules of ATP. From glycolysis, net ATP output is actually 2 molecules of ATP. And glycolysis is not only yielding 2 molecules of ATP, net ATP output, but it is also providing other energy carrier molecules as well. So what is the total output of glycolysis? It's in 2 molecules of ATP, it's 2 molecules of NADH also, and 2 molecules of pyruvates. What will happen? These NADH and pyruvates will then enter into a mitochondria to continue the further process of cellular respiration. What will happen? NADH would oxidize and it will give electrons to FADH, and FADH will carry these electrons to electron transport chain and would finally help in a synthesis of 4 molecules of ATP. And here each molecule synthesized during glycolysis, each molecule of NADH when oxidizes, it produces 2 molecules of ATP. Therefore, these 2 molecules of NADH can yield total 4 molecules of ATP when they are oxidized during electron transport chain. And 2 molecules of pyruvates will enter into a mitochondria and they will continue a Krebs cycle, and the further process of respiration will continue. And that includes synthesis of acetyl coenzyme, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. And we are going to study them one by one. Please subscribe my channel and share it with your friends also, and comment as well, and let's learn together. Thank you very much.